This video will guide you through some reflections to consider our purpose in creating digital portfolios. You might want to grab paper and a pen to jot down some notes as you go. First, we're going to look at a week in a classroom. We're going to take 2 minutes to note any occasions where you can imagine you might want to document or somehow capture the learning that is taking place. I am going to run this timer for 2 minutes, so feel free to make some notes during this time. Just 10 seconds left. Thank you. So one thing to think about when we're looking at the things that we would like to share, it's interesting to reflect on what the final function of collecting those different pieces of work or that documentation is. Do you want to look at these things and collect these things to be able to have some careful curation, so to highlight the really big pieces in student learning? Or is it just to show the family or adults at home kind of what's going on in the classroom? So it's okay to have a digital portfolio that exists for either of those purposes. But are we trying to use this as a careful curation to be able to show student work with some kind of proficiency conversation? Or is it just as a conversation starter to keep students learning and connecting to what's happening in the classroom and inform parents and adults at home about what the situation is? Looking at the work that you have collected, which ones do you think are the most powerful snapshots of learning? And why do these ones stand out? Take a moment to look at that, but I'm going to just share with you some of my reflections on the things that I wrote down, looking back on my classroom experiences. The list of things I've included are writing, journal entries, collaboration work, math manipulatives, working through a problem on non-permanent versus vertical surfaces, a student drawing, some draft work that they've done, so different drafts or different versions, giving peer or accepting different kinds of feedback, as well as a note of the feedback that I've given students, some kind of a presentation, a poster, a physical model that they've constructed. I would like to record a video or audio of student reflections, as well as a video or audio of student reading, both reading of their choice and reading at grade text. Now, the powerful snapshots of learning that might be helpful here would be the ones that parents can't see in classroom context. I would be able to share quite a few different pieces by sending work home, but I want to be able to show the things that they can't see that happen in a classroom, which are valuable learning moments. So they would stand out because I can't share them in a different way. So one example might be working with a group of peers and solving a problem on a whiteboard, or being able to do some work with math manipulatives and then representing a problem solution. I might not be able to send home a reflection that is as genuine as I might hear from a student in the classroom, depending on the student, of course. And a sample of student reading of an grade level text might be different when it happens at home, when it happens in my classroom space. So those are some things that stand out for me. You might want to pause the video and think about why some of these things might stand out for you. As we move forward in considering our purpose, it really comes back to the student. I believe that the most valuable part of collecting different evidence of learning is it gives us a picture of the different kinds of things that students have as their strengths and growth points. And also it allows the parent or the adult to be informed about what kinds of things that their students are experiencing in the school building and to celebrate those moments of achievement. So when we come back to that question of who is this being documented for, it's being documented for potentially the student or for their parent audience. It might also be documented to be collected as a point of progress to make sure that you have closed that loop in assessment. But ask yourself this question: for whom do you want to document student learning? Then the following question is, who is going to be doing the documentation? Depending on the age of your students, it might only be your students that are taking this on. They definitely will need some guidance and support as they move through to be able to know how to do this properly. But is it going to be you doing the work, or is it going to be your students? We kind of discussed this already when we were looking at careful curation or conversation starter. Why do we want to document learning in our classroom? Are students going to have the opportunity to look back at their early learning and then notice and celebrate how much they've grown? Or is it being done just so that it can go home on occasion and that you have a peak of a conversation continuing in the home about the things that are happening in the classroom? Either one of those things are valid decisions. The next question is, how will entries of this documentation be made? How are we going to collect these things? They might be as simple as collecting a folder of work. It might be that things are glued into a scrapbook. You might also move to some digital structure. Being able to use the devices that you have access to capture different kinds of evidence is really valuable. And there are many things that we can do. However, as we know, each new layer presents a layer of challenge and as well as opportunity. Thinking about some strategies to be able to use as you're going through that process of curating and looking at selecting the pieces of student work that you would like to include in a portfolio, there are a number of different strategies you might use. You might set up some reflection routines in your classroom. You might give your students some sentence starters of things they can start with. For example, I notice, next time I will. You might have a routine where you have peer feedback set up. So you might have students working with a partner, looking at their work and giving 2 stars and a wish, or some more formal structure. You might have co-created rubrics where your students and you have decided what the key pieces are that they're looking for to be able to to achieve success and accomplish their goals. You might look at those rubrics on various occasions and make note with color markers maybe, and then the date of how the students are moving forward in their work and the kinds of things they want to keep working to do better. It all comes down to taking the time and the intention and scheduling in that structure in your classroom in order to be successful. It might be a regular occasion. It might be when you finish a big piece of work, and it might be that you have built this into every semester or every quarter. The idea is, if we start with some strategies and we move into scheduling and putting forward some intentional structures, we're more likely to find success. This image here represents that there are different kinds of evidence of learning that we have in classrooms. Many, many different kinds of products are created by students. And as I might have alluded to in some of my brainstorming of learning, the process is also valuable. And the process might be the things like the reflection. It might be the things like the feedback, and it might be the things like student strategies. So with each of these things, we might have them in object form, in written work form. So that would be not digital. We might have them or I guess it could be digital too. You might have them as images and you might have them as videos. Using technology, we can actually take a photo of any object or a photo of any written work. We also can record a video of looking at that object and looking at that written work with some kind of audio reflection. All of these pieces can sit within Google Drive as evidenced. They can be shared through FreshGrade to the parent portal, and they can also be plugged into MyNBC in the parent page. Additionally, these items can sit in Google Drive and be put into a Google Slide, a Google Doc, or a Google Site, and then shared into FreshGrade or the MyNBC parent portal to be able to connect with their audience. On the technology integration page, you'll see many more videos and supports and strategies for how to move forward in this work. And there you'll also find some more information about the technical bits for your own learning and implementation. Thanks for watching.